Camus watched Van closely, her cheeks flushing with a mixture of hope and admiration. She couldn't help but wonder if Van was receptive to the unspoken feelings that lingered in the air. Beneath his confident facade, she sensed a hidden shyness that endeared him to her even more. Hugo's voice cut through the tension, diverting their attention. He dismissed the significance of names and titles within the illustrious Baskerville household. According to Hugo, the true measure of a person lay in their lineage. Lackluster individuals hailed from the Le descent, while greatness emanated from the Van lineage. Adolf, Camus's uncle, was visibly taken aback by this revelation. He approached Van with an air of familiarity, acknowledging him as a staunch supporter of his niece. However, Adolf cautioned Van against sharing certain information, implying that it might not be wise. Despite the warnings, Adolf emphasized the importance of ensuring that the right individual became Camus's husband. Van contemplated the engagement between the clans, viewing it as more of a suggestion than a heartfelt agreement. He found himself less than satisfied with the supposed genius of Baskerville. Adolf's scrutiny didn't escape Van's notice. The Moor clan member, known as one of the strongest within his clan and a loyal supporter of Camus, examined Van's physique with interest. Adolf's sudden appearance surprised Van, who had been lost in thought. Camus's voice broke through his reverie, and Van confessed that he hadn't been paying attention since it was deemed unwise to share certain truths. Camus was thoroughly impressed by Van's boldness in front of her uncle, and Adolf's mischievous smirk hinted at a deeper intention. Adolf expressed his desire for a more profound conversation with Van, prompting Hugo to interject with skepticism. He questioned whether Adolf intended to scold an 8-year-old child. Adolf's response was unexpected. He viewed Van as a potential husband for his niece and emphasized that this request came not from the patriarch of the Moor clan, but from a concerned uncle. Camus, torn between her loyalty to Van and her uncle's wishes, tried to dissuade Adolf. But Adolf reassured her that this was an inevitable development and implored Hugo to grant him this opportunity. Hugo eventually relented, and the trio moved to an outdoor arena. Camus and Hugo watched from the sidelines as Adolf declared his intention to test Van's abilities thoroughly. Van, wary of revealing too much, cautioned Adolf that going all out might lead to him passing out. Adolf's response was a wry smile, and he introduced a unique handicap, an ordinary pot filled with water. Camus couldn't hide her shock at the unconventional choice. Adolf clarified the rules of their duel. Van had to face him with the pot on his head, and victory would be Van's if he managed to force a single drop of water to fall. Van realized that Adolf would be a formidable opponent even without this handicap. Still, he saw this as an opportunity to experience the true extent of Adolf's power, one of the reasons why Hugo had accepted Adolf's request in the first place. Adolf urged Van to give it his all, but Van believed that he only needed to meet Hugo's expectations. With determination, Van charged straight at Adolf. Camus, witnessing the reckless charge, couldn't help but warn Van about running straight at her uncle. To her surprise, Adolf summoned a shield that effortlessly blocked Van's attack. Van knew that piercing through this shield with conventional aura swords would be an arduous task. Adolf escalated the battle by creating a barrage of fireballs and launching them aggressively at Van. Camus grew increasingly frustrated, as she had never seen Adolf employ magic like this in their duels. Adolf questioned her loyalty, placing her in a precarious position. Van found himself challenged by Adolf's relentless attack, struggling to dodge the fiery onslaught. It became apparent that there was no need to intervene. The two combatants were locked in a fierce battle. At just 8 years old after his regression and with retained knowledge from his previous life, Van possessed a unique advantage. Wayne believed that Van could exploit these factors to catch Adolf off guard and potentially defeat him. With this intent in mind, Wayne charged toward the battle, swinging his sword against Adolf's shield. Adolf confidently stated that Van's sword couldn't break through his shield, but Wayne persisted, targeting a specific point on the shield. Adolf couldn't help but be impressed by Van's unwavering focus and exceptional swordsmanship skills. However, Wayne's swords ultimately broke, much to Adolf's satisfaction. Camus and Hugo were left stunned by this turn of events, and Hugo reflected on the importance of adapting one's strategy to the opponent. Adolf praised Van's talent but declared him too weak to support his niece. Then, unexpectedly, water began to drip from the pot on Adolf's head. Confused and bewildered, Adolf couldn't comprehend what had just transpired. It turned out that a piece of Van's broken sword had coincidentally pierced the pot, causing the water to leak. Van claimed victory, and Camus blushed at the thought of their future together. However, Hugo harbored a different perspective. To him, this victory was no coincidence. It appeared that Van was shaping up to be a much more formidable contender than he had initially expected. The narrative then shifted to a scene 7 years later at the Baskerville training grounds. Students engaged in combat against a giant bear monster, their instructor closely monitoring their progress. The instructor shared valuable tactics for facing a stronger opponent: step back, target the legs to slow it down, and then strike the vital points. The students were awed as three brothers efficiently dispatched the bear, defying their expectations. After the battle, the students gathered, marking the conclusion of their 7 years of training. They received congratulations on their graduation, and excitement filled the air as they contemplated their future paths. Among the various night orders within the Baskerville clan, each dedicated to specific objectives such as surveillance, search missions, guarding, assassination, suppression, and warfare, they wondered which order Van would choose. The narrative then transitioned to Van, who sat atop the defeated bear. He couldn't help but overhear the students discussing his achievements. He was already considered a sword expert and possessed 3 bear fangs. Van's thoughts turned inward as he contemplated his progress. Despite his hidden level now being that of a graduate intermediate rank in the Baskerville technique, compared to 7 years ago when he was a graduate low rank, his growth had been slower than anticipated. A butler interrupted his reverie, announcing that the patriarch was seeking his presence, suggesting that Van's assignment had already been decided. Van made his way to meet Hugo, who appeared noticeably older than before. Their conversation began with Van's curiosity about the scar on Hugo's nose, earned during a skirmish with barbarians on Nor Mountain. Van asked if they had been captured, but Hugo admitted they had not, though he proudly mentioned giving one of the archers a matching scar. Hugo congratulated Van on his graduation, hinting that the challenges were only going to intensify from here. Van suspected that Hugo was about to discuss his assignment. Prior to his regression, Van had become a junior knight of the Pitbull Order and had been dispatched to the Nora Mountain, where he faced non-stop peril for 21 months. He had been treated like an expendable, thrust into battle immediately upon reaching the age of 15. In the Baskerville clan, children were categorized as either elite or expendable at the age of 15. The expendables faced death in battle, while the elite received education in politics and administration. Over time, experienced expendables became guards for the elites, who matured by practicing politics and administration. The 5th Baskerville technique had been developed to allow the elite to catch up to the expendables, given their extensive combat experience. This explained why Van's swordsmanship hadn't surpassed the 4th technique before his regression. Hugo's reluctance to allow an illegitimate child like Van to take an elite course was palpable. However, he surprised Van by suggesting that he try the lower house of parliament. Van was taken aback by this unexpected opportunity. The lower parliament played a crucial role in managing various aspects of the clan, including regional administration, legislature, law enforcement, business affairs, and more. Van was stunned that Hugo had allowed an illegitimate child like him to enter the elite course. Hugo justified his decision by highlighting Van's exceptional achievements. He revealed that Van would take on the role of Deputy Consul of Underdog City, a prestigious position usually reserved for elite members. Both the consul and deputy consul positions were currently vacant. Hugo asked Van if he was willing to accept this responsibility. Van agreed, respecting Hugo's decision. However, before proceeding, he had something important to discuss. Hugo was curious, and Van mentioned the incident involving the Morgue clan and the ruby mines. Hugo immediately understood, referring to how Van had outwitted Adolf. Van asked to borrow a promised reward once more. The butler, shocked by Van's audacity, anticipated Hugo's response. Van clarified that Hugo need not grant his request if it was too much. However, Hugo stamped the papers, agreeing to fulfill Van's request. He expressed trust in Van, believing that he would not act recklessly. As Van and the butler left the room, the butler noted that the patriarch treasured Van immensely, assigning him the role of a consul instead of dispatching him immediately into battle. The butler believed that Van would prove invaluable when the time came. Van acknowledged this potential but recognized that it would only come to fruition if he successfully managed his responsibilities as deputy consul. He viewed this as an opportunity to hone his skills and utilize his authority to greater effect. Despite his lack of interest in current events, he couldn't forget the memories of his previous life, including the sensation of his head rolling off the guillotine. He contemplated revenge against those who had wronged him, vowing to make Hugo experience a similar sensation. In the heart of the underdog territory, the air was heavy with anticipation. Workers diligently scrubbed away the grime that had clung to the walls and floors of their humble space. It was no ordinary day. News had circulated that a new deputy consul was en route, and the twist in the tale was that this deputy consul was rumored to be a mere 15 years old. As the elder among the workers barked orders for a more thorough cleaning, skepticism hung in the air like a thick fog. Who would entrust such a significant role to a child? The question seemed to be on everyone's mind. Then, breaking through the quiet chatter and the sound of scrubbing, a newcomer strode into the room. Two workers, puzzled by the unexpected guest, instinctively moved to block his path. Their hands firmly grasped his arms, intending to halt his progress. But the newcomer, who went by the name of Van, was not one to be trifled with. He shot them a withering glare and, with a stern voice, ordered them to remove their hands immediately. The workers, taken aback by the sudden turn of events, withdrew their hands in haste. The shock that rippled through the room was palpable when they realized that the young Van was, in fact, the newly appointed deputy consul. With an air of authority, Van wasted no time in issuing his commands. He instructed the workers to prepare for a grand celebration, demanding women and drinks without delay. It was clear that he intended to mark his arrival with a bang. The scene shifted swiftly to a lively party. Women and men mingled, clinking glasses, savoring sumptuous dishes, exchanging stories, and reveling in the festivities. Laughter and music filled the air as the night wore on. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit room overlooking the scene, a man named Bichir Baskerville, the general secretary of the underdog city, simmered with frustration. He watched the revelry unfold below with a mix of disbelief and anger. It was inconceivable to him that a newly appointed deputy consul would choose to indulge in such festivities on their very first day in office. Chihuahua muttered his discontent, referring to Van as a ridiculous guy who had been assigned to the prestigious role. He couldn't fathom what kind of troublemaker this young, untested kid might turn out to be. Van, wearing an intimidating aura like a cloak, approached Chihuahua from behind. Startled, Chihuahua spun around, only to find himself face to face with the enigmatic deputy consul. With an air of calm authority, Van inquired if Chihuahua was, indeed, the general secretary. Chihuahua, still reeling from the surprise, stammered out a response. As their introductions unfolded, it became evident that Van had observed a key detail. Chihuahua lacked a middle name, suggesting that he was not a blood member of the Baskerville family. Chihuahua, on his part, had endured years of discrimination from previous deputy consuls due to his outsider status. He was taken aback when Van's response to his lack of a middle name was a simple, "It's nice." It was an unexpected and welcome change. Van then dropped another bombshell, revealing that he had already perused Chihuahua's personal information. He confirmed that Chihuahua was born and raised in the underdog city, an insider who knew the intricacies of the place. Van assured him that he had no intention of meddling in Chihuahua's methods and expressed trust in his ability to carry out his duties effectively. Amidst these revelations, Chihuahua couldn't help but wonder if Van's presence at the party was part of some elaborate plan. He questioned the motive behind Van's unexpected arrival when he had initially asked for the celebration. As Chihuahua's musings continued, Van spoke up, addressing a deeper concern. He acknowledged that while the personal law system seemed sound, there were peculiarities within the judicial system that needed attention. Chihuahua, surprised to see that Van had already familiarized himself with these intricacies, listened intently. Van then delved into the core issue plaguing the underdog city, the thriving illegal businesses that operated with impunity. He pointed out that these underground enterprises held sway over the city, effectively making a mockery of the law. Simply shutting down illegal businesses wouldn't suffice. Van believed that the heads of these underground enterprises needed to be ousted. He emphasized the role of the deputy consul, tasked with making and executing laws. Van conveyed his respect for the existing laws but asserted his intent to introduce a new law, one aimed at dismantling the underground economy. Chihuahua was taken aback by the audacity of this plan. Van, however, had a condition. He declared his intention to plunge the underground economy into chaos within a week, but he needed a cause to justify and execute this law. When Chihuahua questioned the need for a cause to eliminate illegal businesses, Van likened it to laying bait for flies, a performance that would draw attention and make his actions more convincing. Chihuahua was left pondering what Van had in store. Little did he know that the next day would witness a display of audacity and leadership that would forever change the dynamics of the underdog city. The sun had barely risen when Van took to the bustling streets of underdog city. His arrival was met with a buzz of conversation, and as word spread, Curious residents gathered around. The notice of his appointment as deputy consul had not gone unnoticed. Beside Van stood a display of the laws that had governed the city for years. Observers couldn't help but notice the extensive list of laws, raising eyebrows and sparking discussions about the role of the higher-ups and potential lobbying efforts. Chihuahua, who had been simmering with anger, finally lost his patience. He sternly ordered the chatter to cease, reminding the onlookers that Van hailed from the prestigious Baskerville family. The crowd fell silent, but murmurs of dissent continued, with some questioning the legitimacy of a child carrying out the duties of a deputy consul. Then, in a dramatic and unexpected turn of events, Van raised his hand, and with a forceful strike, shattered the ground beneath him. A spear was driven halfway into the earth, and Van, rising to his feet, declared his intention to announce a new special law as the deputy consul. With bated breath, the crowd listened as Van proclaimed the first clause of Van's special law. Whoever could extract the spear from the ground would be rewarded with 100 million gold coins. A stunned hush fell over the assembly as disbelief rippled through the crowd. Could it be true? Was Van really offering such a sum, 4 times the average salary? Van's words hung in the air, met with skepticism and doubt. Some accused him of attempting to deceive them, and their accusations grew into a cacophony of shouts and protests. Chihuahua, who had managed to regain his composure, felt a sense of embarrassment wash over him. But Van wasn't finished. He increased the reward, first to 1 billion gold coins, then to 10 billion. The crowd's astonishment grew with each new offer. Yet, despite the tantalizing sums, uncertainty and suspicion still prevailed. It was only when Van upped the reward to an astronomical 100 billion gold coins that the tide began to turn. Hesitation gave way to determination, and a sense of opportunity washed over the assembly. 10 billion was one thing, but 100 billion gold coins were an unimaginable fortune. Chihuahua, watching from the sidelines, was visibly embarrassed by the situation. He approached Van and confessed that the city simply did not possess such an astronomical sum. A young girl, her eyes filled with determination, raised her hand and offered to attempt the seemingly impossible task. The onlookers warned her against it, fearing that there must be a catch. Her mother's illness, however, compelled her to take the risk. She approached the stake, her small hands trembling as she prepared to make the attempt. With a deep breath and unwavering resolve, the young girl grasped the stake and, to everyone's astonishment, effortlessly extracted it from the ground. The crowd erupted into cheers, and the girl stood there, a mix of fear and hope in her eyes. Van, true to his word, approached her and handed over 100 million gold coins. The onlookers watched in awe as this unexpected turn of events unfolded. Van assured the girl that the remaining 100 billion gold coins would be delivered to her home. He even promised to provide a guard to protect her newfound wealth. The simple act of obeying the law and extracting the stake had earned the girl unimaginable riches. The citizens, touched by this display of generosity and fairness, couldn't believe their eyes. Van's words had weight, and he had proven that he intended to uphold the law to the fullest. In the days that followed, Van's special law became a sensation, surpassing even the self-governance law of the Baskerville Clan in terms of fame. It offered a clear and compelling message: obey the law, and you shall be rewarded. Disobey, and there will be consequences. The city began to transform as unlawful activities dwindled and crime rates plummeted. Van had made his mark, not through fear, but through principled leadership and unwavering commitment to justice. Back in his office, Van contemplated the aftermath of his audacious performance. Chihuahua, still in awe of what had transpired, expressed his admiration for Van's daring act. He confessed that, in his 2 decades of service, he had never been so moved. Van, however, knew that the challenges had only just begun. Retrieving the promised 100 billion gold coins would prove to be a monumental task. The city's illegal groups and potential hideouts were now on their radar, and Van intended to locate these pockets of crime and confiscate their ill-gotten gains. But Van's actions had also stirred the hornet's nest. The Youth Autonomy Association, a group with ties to the Manhwa clan and a history intertwined with the Baskerville family, had requested a meeting. Their discontent and intentions remained shrouded in mystery, but Van sensed that a confrontation was inevitable. In the opulent setting of a club within an underdog city hotel, the members of the Youth Autonomy Association gathered. In a dimly lit room, the atmosphere was tense as the 7 key members convened. These individuals, who represented the native Baskerville family, were known for their promiscuous social club. As they indulged in their festivities, their concerns about Van's new law loomed large. They believed it was time to address the issue head-on as the winds of change blew through the underdog city. The waiter entered the room with a hint of excitement in his voice, announcing the arrival of the girls. He ushered them in, and amongst the group was a man named Van. The ladies insisted that the waiter kick out this seemingly young interloper, mistaking him for a mere child. The waiter, perhaps a bit too confident, reached out and grabbed Van's hair. In the blink of an eye, Van reacted swiftly, wrenching his hand free from the waiter's grip and stepping forward. With an air of authority, he declared himself as the new deputy consul, Van Baskerville. This revelation left everyone in the room taken aback, their initial assumptions shattered. Conversation buzzed through the group as they contemplated a clever idea, making Van foot the entire bill for their gathering. However, Van had other plans. He slammed his hand onto the table, releasing a surge of mysterious power that shattered all the glasses, sending shards flying toward their faces. Shocked and unable to retaliate, they soon realized that Van was no ordinary guest. He was a formidable graduate of some unknown power. In a desperate bid to appease Van, one of the men spoke up, claiming they had only intended to test him as the vice-consul. They acknowledged his worthiness to lead them and pledged their allegiance. Van, though, wasn't easily swayed. He delivered a powerful punch to the man's stomach, sending him sprawling to the ground. With a fierce gaze, Van chastised the group, explaining that their apparent fearlessness stemmed from their wealth and influence. He warned them that they had yet to experience true terror. With a firm hand, he threw the man to the ground and demanded the others explain themselves. If they failed to provide a satisfactory answer, they would share the same fate. Fearful and intimidated, the group quickly conceded, assuring Van that they understood. However, Van wasn't satisfied with mere words. He informed them that they all deserved a good beating for their actions. As they began to gang up against him, Van moved with astonishing speed, positioning himself in front of them once more. In a stern tone, he accused them of kidnapping and slave trading, crimes that had earned his contempt for the Baskerville Clan. Their time for reckoning had come, and Van was determined to deliver the punishment they deserved. In a swift and powerful display of his abilities, Van took care of all of them simultaneously, ensuring that justice was served.